Thanks, Gary. Hey, you better get your picture facing the sun in the right direction. Oh my gosh. Your wife will kill me if I didn't get your picture out in the sun.
The Democrats now meet over there, don't they?
Thank you.
Yes.
Not really, but I'm going to go home shortly.
Finally.
They're doing an amazing job on this side. I know. I love that. Heather Stockwell.
Take a step forward, guys. Take a step forward.
Great.
I lost the way there. I didn't know what
Thanks so much for coming, everyone. We're about to get started with our press conference. I'm Heather Stockwell. I spent the majority of this last year traveling all over New Hampshire, talking to residents about what issues they care about the most. We've crunched that data and come up with a report and also produced our People's Platform, which we're releasing today. We have 6 speakers here for you on the top issues that came out of that survey. Those will be our legislative priorities moving forward into 2019. I'm going to turn it over to our MC, Sebastian Fuentes from Thornton, New Hampshire. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Everybody can hear me all back?
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. How many times you guys go into social media, Facebook and Twitter, and then see all the issues that are happening right now? You see a lot of messages about how divided we are. Yeah. What is going on? Republicans, Democrats, young and old, rural people, urban people. I'm a board member of Rights and Democracy. I've been organizing in North Country for about 2 years now. Earlier last year, 2018, Rights and Democracy set out on a quest to figure out whether or not we're so divided in New Hampshire. We surveyed over 1,000 folks at farmers markets, community centers, and we knocked a lot of doors. We went to rural communities that are often ignored. We went to places and areas in the north and the south that voted for Barack Obama, and then all of a sudden they switched for Donald Trump. And what we found is there is actually a widespread agreement. It's not surprising when you think about it. There are many problems in the Grand Estate, and their families are struggling with that. We can work together on it.
That's right.
Did you know that the Grand Estate citizens are almost in complete agreement about wanting affordable health care? It doesn't matter who they voted for Over 80% of the people we survey want access to quality affordable health care.
Yes.
That's right.
Granite State citizens are almost in complete agreement about the impact of the opioid crisis. 80% of the people we survey are concerned about the opioids. Almost every family in America have been impacted on this health crisis. So, we have problems like the lack of affordable healthcare, an overdose crisis, the quality of public education, and affordable college. Jobs that don't pay enough to meet the cost of basic needs. And pollution of our land and water and also air. We intend to address these issues through legislative action in the 2 years ahead. We're calling our plan of action the New Hampshire People's Platform. Well, I can't be louder than that, it's all good. Renew energy in the legislator. We have a real opportunity to move forward and ensure that the needs of the Granite Staters are heard and addressed. Good work on these issues. These issues are already being done by many groups that are present here today. Groups like the Granite State Progress, Granite State Organizing Project 350 New Hampshire, New Hampshire Youth Movement, the Wilton Peace Action, and more. We wanted to hear the real stories of people around the state who have been impacted by these issues that are central to the New Hampshire People's Platform. So I'm going to start really quick. I want to introduce our first speaker tonight. She's from Keene, New Hampshire. She's an amazing activist, a good friend of mine, and she's also an occupational therapist. Her name is Amy Hathaway.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Over 2 million people are either diagnosed with cancer or die from cancer each year in America. The cost of treating cancer is skyrocketing. Many cancer drugs now cost more than $100,000 a year. The price of 1 month of an oral cancer medication considered increased from $1,800 in 2000 to over $11,000 in 2014. Is it any wonder that Americans are turning in record numbers to charitable organizations and crowdfunding to help their mounting bills?
Wow.
This is not happening in the United Kingdom or the United Arab Emirates, nor is it happening in Kuwait or South Korea or Austria, Spain, Greece, or Norway, and of course, don't forget Canada. There are 32 countries that now provide universal health care for their citizens. Why is it so hard for America, the richest and most powerful country in the world, to do the same? The recent survey conducted by Rights and Democracy found that over 83% of us in New Hampshire are deeply concerned with affordable, quality health care. Regardless of our income, geography, or political views, we believe that everyone should have the freedom, the right to work and live without fear of medical bills or a pending surgery or accident.
That's right.
I am among the privileged. I receive health care coverage from my employer. When I was hospitalized for 3 days in 2017 for my asthma, my only worry was making it to the ER in time to receive treatment. I was recovered well and received excellent follow-up care. My insurance covers almost the entire cost of my daily inhaler. I pay $35 a month, but the retail price for that medication is $499. I don't have to make tough choices in this area of my life. But thousands of people do, and are in a position of choosing between medication and food, or rent, or a utility bill.
Shame.
A friend of mine and her husband are now faced with the difficult decision of whether to buy health insurance via the ACA or keep their home. Their monthly premium rose by $160 a month, bringing their total to $800 and surpassing their mortgage payment. He has had a serious heart attack, and she is struggling from serious GI issues that require surgery. What kind of civilized society leaves people behind scrambling to cobble their lives together while trying to get well?
Right.
It is immoral and it must end.
That's right.
our children.
That's right.
To fight for full, unconditional, comprehensive health care coverage to include dental care and mental health services on demand here in New Hampshire and nationwide. As one of the wealthiest nations in the world, we should be among the healthiest, and yet we are not. Health care, or lack of it, drives decisions of daily life for all of us. Medicare for all is possible.
Yes.
Every single person deserves peace of mind. Americans need to know that when it is needed, high-quality health care will be available to them and at no cost. Medicare for all is the issue of our time. New Hampshire citizens want this. Let's get this done.
Miss Amy, thank you very much. I want to invite to the front Mr. Ryan Fowler. He's going to be talking about the overdose crisis in New Hampshire. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. As Sebastian said, my name is Ryan Fowler. I'm here to talk about the overdose crisis. I myself am a person in recovery from a substance use disorder. I used and sold drugs here in New Hampshire for over 10 years, but have now been in recovery for over 4 years. I am a former injection drug user, the people you see in the news, and I'm alive and healthy because of harm reduction. And I'm also a person who was able to access residential treatment and mental health counseling because of Medicaid expansion. And for those two things, and now today, I am a certified recovery support worker. I work on the front lines of the addiction crisis, mostly on the Seacoast and in Manchester. I've found that I've been able to use my negative experiences as a drug user to help others navigate the difficult road of recovery. But I've also found myself in the position of an advocate, where I can use my privilege and my voice to elevate the voices of a marginalized population who lives in the shadows of a draconian drug war. They call it a war on drugs, but really it is a war on us.
Yes.
Right. The message that I receive from policymakers is that they either want me in a jail cell or dead. Luckily, we are slowly moving away from failed drug war policies and moving towards a more evidence-based, compassionate system of care. Our state legislature has shared in some tremendous victories over the past few years. I have seen some nonpartisan cooperation as our lawmakers have come together to ensure that Granite Staters have access to treatment and health care.
Yes.
And we now have a Good Samaritan law, which allows for a person to call 911 during an overdose without fear of prosecution. But what we need in the coming legislative session is an amendment to the existing RSA to ensure that low-level drug users are not prosecuted by drug-induced homicide laws. These laws do nothing but ruin additional lives in the name of failed drug war politics. Until we move away from this failed system of drug war policies, we will not see a change in the overdose crisis. What we are seeing now every day out in the streets of New Hampshire is a direct result of Nixon's failed drug war.
That's right.
Last year, our nation lost 72,000 people to a preventable death because of stigma and prohibition. When we look at a system of compassion and harm reduction, every single drug-related death is preventable.
Yes.
And so our state legislature has embraced harm reduction as a philosophy and a practice. We have passed legislation that has saved countless lives. We have a peer-based naloxone distribution system, which has reversed countless overdoses and saved many lives and money. And in 2017, in a historic moment, New Hampshire passed some of the best syringe exchange laws in the country. But in the coming legislative session, I implore our elected officials to amend that RSA to allow for state funds to support these evidence-based interventions. Over 25 years of research on syringe exchange programs has shown that these programs save lives, money, and allow people like me to access peer support, healthcare, and treatment. But we still have a long way to go in the addiction crisis. I hear it every day. We're not going to arrest our way out of the problem. We're not going to punish our way out of the situation. But here's the system at hand. We punish people for using drugs. And this is a policy that is based on the outdated belief that drug use is a moral failing and a choice. But science tells us otherwise. We know that substance use disorders are chronic health conditions and they can be treated. But what we have right now is a system that criminalizes my mental health disorder. My mental health diagnosis is one of the only ones that could land me in prison if I exhibit symptoms. So, here it is, right before us, the war on drugs. The war on drugs is a social justice issue, and it's a social justice issue that I have taken up. We need more allies and more activists speaking truth to power on this issue. This system is a system of structural violence and mass incarceration that disproportionately targets marginalized populations. We're talking about casualties and prisoners of the drug war. We need new policies that promote justice, safety, and healing for those that are most affected by the systemic genocide. We must shift power and resources to the people that are most vulnerable to this type of structural violence. When our state legislature finally reads the research and legalizes cannabis, the legal cannabis market needs to create a space for those who are most impacted by the drug war. Post-drug war policy needs to be rooted in equity and not unending vengeance and crony capitalism. So I thank y'all for being here and listening to me. Just remember that I am one single voice representing millions of people who are not heard because of this system of mass incarceration and oppression. And remember that the war on drugs is really a war on us, and we all pay that price every single day. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a powerful story. Ryan, you know, everybody in New Hampshire deserves a second chance. Everybody in the United States deserves a second chance. So I want to invite to the front my friend Nicolette Gala. She's going to be talking about education. She's the mother of 2 beautiful children from Southbury, New Hampshire.
Hi, thank you all for coming today. Thank you to Rights and Democracy for inviting me to speak. Thank you to the representatives who are starting your important volunteer work here today in the State House. I am a proud product of the Granite State Public Schools. I graduated from Conval in the early 2000s, and at that time, we were building across the state to accommodate an influx of new students as families moved to a state consistently rated excellent for raising kids in. Today, we face different challenges as young families are supplanted by retirees. But that shouldn't change our commitment to our kids, our schools, and our communities. My oldest son is entered public school this year, and his brother will soon follow. We are strong supporters of public education, and our community, like so many others, are entrusting you to correct the inequities at this critical time. Every New Hampshire student deserves an opportunity for a better future, regardless of their zip code.
Right. Yes.
Young students like my children are relying on us to rise to this occasion by investing in their education at every opportunity. You will hear from lobbyists and others who want to weaken our public schools and say that money doesn't equal results. I can assure you that districts with fewer funds per student have larger class sizes. Their teachers are paid less. Those kids have less opportunity to try future careers by way of electives. They have fewer extracurricular activities and sports. There is no trades offered. Their technology is outdated if available at all. Their equipment and facilities are in need of maintenance and repair. And it means that the students with disabilities or new Americans don't get the supports they need to succeed in school or in life. When state government touts a surplus but isn't meeting the court mandates by Claremont rulings, you are saying that the students are not a priority. It's time for the state to meet the needs of each student and provide for every student so that our expectations are met, whether living in a community with a robust tax base or a diminished one. The children deserve the same investment across the board as we as a state deserve graduated students ready for the modern workforce.
Yes.
Here is my challenge to you, to legislators, and to all of you standing here. Meet with students in your district to see if they have the tools that they need to succeed. They need to be able to transition into the job market and higher education. Take their words to heart. Take their current experiences as valuable truth, even if your own children graduated successfully in the 80s, 90s, or early 2000s. Meet with teachers. Then go outside of your district to see if the challenges in the cash-strapped communities like Franklin and Claremont are different. Ask the librarians how many books they were able to bring in this year versus how many they taped together on a shoestring budget. Ask how many kids are on free and reduced lunch. Ask them what they need to succeed. A New Hampshire where all students have an equal opportunity to succeed is possible if we overhaul our school funding system. Children are our greatest investment, and I look forward to working together with all of you on this.
Good job.
Thank you very much. Something amazing is happening in New Hampshire lately, and we're getting our youth involved in politics.
Yeah.
So the next speakers represent that. I want to invite to the front Dylan Carney. He's a former UNH student, and he's also one of the co-founders of the New Hampshire youth movement from Dover, New Hampshire.
When I was 15 years old, my brother came home from traveling Costa Rica with a college class. And he told my family that night that he was a vegetarian. He sat down and told us stories of a 9-year-old native girl sitting on a mountaintop with him, pointing out all the places that her community has had to move from because corporations would come in, clear-cut the land, burn it, farm soy, just to sell off to more corporations for them to create beef for the U.S. Just like a cycle of it was a brutal cycle of extraction and profit. That day, I too became a vegetarian. This was one of the first times in my life that I had taken the climate crisis seriously. I started working on a local farm and went off to the University of New Hampshire to learn how to grow food sustainably. While I was in school though, I joined peers in the fossil fuel divestment campaign at the University of New Hampshire. And it was through that campaign that I learned that just 100 corporations are responsible for 71% of the pollution on planet Earth.
Hey.
And that the fossil fuel industry has spent over $1 billion since 1990 to elect politicians to office.
Oh, shame.
And that since 1970, the fossil fuel industry has decided to deceive the public, consolidate political power, and profit off of the climate crisis for as long as they could. It was also at college, though, that I learned the best way for me to fight climate change was not through my individual actions, but through joining with others to hold legislators accountable and to reject the advances of the fossil fuel industry. You see, here in New Hampshire, we have a great opportunity. We can build offshore wind turbines in the Gulf of Maine. We can stop the expansion of fossil fuel projects like the Granite Bridge pipeline. And we can work with other states to pressure our national legislators to endorse the Green New Deal. Because in my 22 years, I've never seen a politician take the climate crisis serious. And the Green New Deal is the first piece of policy that says we can stop the climate crisis and create millions of good-paying jobs in the process, which will tackle the injustices that have been brought forward by the fossil fuel industry. That all starts, though, with people like you and I, working within our communities to hold our local leaders accountable, and working during elections to make sure that we have politicians that actually represent us and who we are. Today, though, we need to do that by backing the People's Platform. Thank you.
All right, how many people are excited about youth in New Hampshire now? I want to invite Janera Clay. She's going to be talking to us about wages and economy. She's a massage therapist from Ware, New Hampshire. Janera?
Thank you.
So, as you already know, my name's Janera Clay. I'm actually from Deering, New Hampshire, and I'm a self-employed licensed massage therapist here in Concord, New Hampshire. But in order for me to earn a living in New Hampshire, I actually have to piecemeal jobs together, which is something you'll probably hear a lot of from people if you actually take the time to talk to them. So in addition to being a licensed massage therapist, I'm a part-time caregiver to elderly and disabled people, both private duty and for Easter seals. I'm a New Hampshire native of 41 years. I attended Keene State College and went to the New Hampshire Community Technical College, of which I'm a graduate in 1999 and 2001. I'd like to personally thank Heather Stockwell on behalf of Rights and Democracy for asking me to speak to you today about the economic injustices surrounding us. If you ever want to affirm the state of the working class, stop, take a minute to talk to the person ringing your groceries or caring for your loved ones. You will discover the 20-something cashier working at your local Family Dollar probably works 2 jobs and lives paycheck to paycheck. The people caring for your loved one makes poverty-level wages, and often we see senior citizens cutting Meals on Wheels lunches in half. This is in order to offset the cost of medications and basic necessities. At the end of the month, they rely on churches and soup kitchens as their pantry is empty. Those who are able to care for themselves are out in the workforce and unable to retire. Look around you. Youth homelessness is rising. Talk to a teacher. Many I know have stories about food insecure students suffering academically, socially, and physically because they live in poverty. Many of these children's only meal will be school lunch. Generations of our young are in debt simply for pursuing a higher education. Many are being forced to delay or put off families because the wages simply have not kept up with the economy. Recently, a longtime friend reached out to catch up, and as soon as I saw him, it was just like old times. This young man has struggled with poverty, joblessness, and addiction. He considered himself lucky to have landed a new job. He now had temporary shelter. He was now living in a motel room with 2 adults and a newborn baby. Prior to this, his home was a place by the Merrimack River in Concord. His bed was a hammock. My friend is only 33. Through his incredible struggle, he still managed to have a twinkle in his eye, a contagious smile, and a heart of gold. He still had hope, and I admire his spirit. I'm happy to report he is doing well and has been sober for 4 months. He is not alone. Almost half of the people surveyed in the Rights and Democracy survey said that they had major concerns about basics like food and shelter. This was true regardless of age, gender, or region. That's because while unemployment may be low, most of the new jobs are in the service sector and don't pay enough to meet basic needs. I look around me and I see a systemic problem here in America. That's right. Alarm bells are ringing when 80% of all workers live paycheck to paycheck.
Shame.
We have 30 million Americans with no health care.
Shame.
Alarm bells are ringing when 64% of Americans cannot afford a $1,000 emergency. 50% of American workers earn $30,000 a year per year or less.
Shame.
And it is time for a revolution.
That's right.
Yes.
That is why Rights and Democracy, along with Raise Up New Hampshire, is calling for an increase in New Hampshire's minimum wage to at least $15 an hour. Our state's minimum wage has been stuck at federal default of $7.25 per hour since legislators repealed the state minimum wage in 2011.
Shame on them.
That's been 8 years in which many workers have seen no pay increase, yet their cost of living has increased every year. We have become a culture obsessed with obscene wealth and power, losing sight of those who suffer as a direct result of policies which leave the most vulnerable behind. In the wealthiest country in the world history, we have the power to eliminate poverty once and for all. If enough of us decide we will fight for all of our neighbors to earn a livable wage, to live in quality, affordable housing, and to be able to take time off when their loved ones are sick, we can achieve a New Hampshire where everyone has a seat at the table.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, I want to invite to the front a friend of mine, Jordan Thompson. He's going to be talking about prejudice and discrimination. He's a young organizer. He's an activist from Nashua, New Hampshire. He ran for a state representative this fall.
Woo! Yes!
Jordan to the front.
Yes, Jordan.
Good morning, everyone. Reports of prejudice and discrimination are on the rise in this country, and New Hampshire is far from exempt. Racism is a systemic issue that many New Hampshire residents have had the privilege of overlooking for most of their lives. The racial makeup of our state is severely lacking in diversity. A recent New York Times article found that over 94% of Granite Staters identify as white. For some, racism can be written off as a problem of the past. But for others, the resurgence of visible white supremacists and documented hate crimes in the state have brought racial tensions to a boil. In 2017, a Claremont incident made national headlines when an 8-year-old biracial boy was the victim of an attempted lynching. That same year, students at the University of New Hampshire were targeted in several racist attacks, including the repeated use of racial slurs and anti-Semitic graffiti. Just a few weeks ago, a disturbing video depicting Dover teens singing racial threats to the tune of a Christmas song went viral. These polarizing events have highlighted the growing need for fundamental change. Last May, I met with students of color from across the Granite State at a rally in Manchester. I listened as they spoke at great length about the prejudice they've endured here. Many of them belong to Manchester's vibrant and growing immigrant population. Others were targeted because of their Islamic faith or Latin heritage. A 2018 preliminary report from Governor Sununu's Council on Diversity and Inclusion found that New Hampshire does not provide a welcoming environment for all and fails to sufficiently acknowledge, accept, and celebrate identities, as well as culturally significant events outside of the dominant culture. As a proud queer man of color, I've experienced this firsthand in the workplace, at school, and even as a candidate for the State House. The time for us to acknowledge racial inequity in New Hampshire is long overdue. And as the activist and academic Angela Davis so famously said, in a racist society, it is not enough to just be non-racist. We must be anti-racist. We must actively seek opportunities to challenge our own implicit biases and hold our friends, families, and neighbors to the same standard. We are here today to challenge our incoming legislators to apply an intersectional lens to policymaking. Many of the issues presented, universal health care, minimum wage, criminal justice reform, disproportionately affect communities and people of color.
That's right.
We cannot advocate for one and not the other.
That's right.
There is no environmental, economic, or social justice without racial justice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Thanks, Jordan.
So we're almost done, I promise. So
Keep going, I need to hear us.
There we go. So to end this presentation, we're not here as Democrats, Republicans. We're not here as independents. We're just concerned citizens. We, the people of New Hampshire, hold all these issues dear to our hearts. And we come from a place of real love and honest concern. We're so proud to be a diverse group. Look at all of us here. We're so proud to be. We have a lot of our representatives right now walking into the house. They are veterans, like some of us. They're nurses, like some of us. They're teachers, like some of us. The only difference between them and us is now they are representing us. We elected them to do the work for us, to be true leaders of their communities. I will ask everybody in this room if you guys want to join me in raising your hand. To every single parent working 2 or 3 jobs so they can pay rent and afford the basic bills, this is your platform. To the teacher working 2 jobs so they can pay for extra school supplies, this is your platform as well. To the veteran without a roof waiting in line for proper medical care, and some of them dying, this is your platform. Come join us. To the African Americans, natives, Latinos, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, transgender, everybody. This is your platform. To the college student having to be in debt for a good part of their adult life after graduating, this is your platform. To our neighbor suffering the struggles of overdose and heroin and drugs and anything, this is your platform. To every single citizen in the state of New Hampshire that attended our roundtable, to every single one, we made a promise to you that your voices will be heard, and here we are. We're not stopping. From Coles County to Grafton County to Cheshire County, all the way to Grafton. We heard them, and we're going to be your voice. Now to our representative. Hopefully they can hear me. I'll be loud. I'll be loud.
Yeah.
We want them to support our people's platform.
That's right.
We took the time to go to talk to people to all the corners of the state, and we hope you will find value in this. We shook hands with people that you haven't met, and we're bringing the message to you.
That's right.
And we're going to end this really quick with somebody that really inspired me through my whole life. The powerful words of Dr. Martin Luther King said one time, from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much for coming today, everyone. I want to invite everyone over to this side, except for you people with the cameras. You can stay over there. Picture opportunity, grab a sign. If you don't have a sign, there are some right back here of the painting designs, and you're welcome to
Join us in the platform, everyone.
And then we're gonna, after we do this, we're gonna, Isaac is gonna teach you a song, and we're gonna march over to the State House together.
All right, don't be shy now. You go ahead and squeeze.
Squeeze.
On three, everybody say New Hampshire is for all of us. 1, 2, 3.
New Hampshire is for all of us. Woo! Echo action.
Who else is here? Oh, you're so loud.
MPA.
Voices today.
Everybody.
Mom's rising, everyone.
Mom's rising. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
So we have a friend who's going inside right now to open up the back door so we can just go straight in together. What I thought would be fun is if we go together singing and we actually do a lap inside in the hallway. And the song we're going to do together is very simple, very fun, and it just goes like this. And you just repeat after me. Neighbor, neighbor, can't you see?
Neighbor, neighbor, can't you see?
A better world for you and me.
Better world for you and me.
Ain't no way we're backing down.
Ain't no way we're backing down.
Rising up, the time is now.
Rising up, the time is
Line
now.
up. Neighbor, neighbor, can't you see?
Neighbor, neighbor, can't you see?
A better world for you and me.
Better world for you and me.
Ain't no way we're backing down.
Ain't no way we're backing down.
Rising up, the time is now.
Rising up, the time is now.
Neighbor, neighbor, can't you see?
Neighbor, neighbor, can't you see?
A better world for you and me.
Better world for you and me.
Ain't no way we're backing down.
Ain't no way we're backing down.
Rising up, the time is now.
Rising up, the time is now.
We got 30 seconds to gather yourselves. Get yourselves together. Ready?
Yeah, I did first aid, and I was so delighted. You still do. You covered it up really well. Just missed part. And I did that. Did you go up these big steps? I had no trouble. You know, pretty big. Yeah. Let's see. Can we do it? Woo! Yeah.
I was like,